Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Football Insights, where we're looking at our national team. Unfortunately, Bafana Bafana have been knocked out of the AFCON tournament by Cameroon, and there was a lot of talk, especially today on social media, about the tactics, about the lineup, about everything that happened in the game. And we are going to look into it analytically and give you guys our insights and let you know why Bafana Bafana was dumped out of the tournament. Unfortunately for us, we started really well getting out of the group, but the tournament has ended for us in this round. And now we'll just have to watch the remainder of the tournament and support our second teams. Our panel today is the usual suspects. We have Dale, we have Gulam, we have Shalene, we have Kyle as well, and myself, Musi Matlaba, and we will be going through the game.
We'll be looking at the lineups this evening, talking about what approach each team, Cameroon and South Africa, took. Obviously, there were changes that we saw in the South African lineup, and we'll have Musi just discuss and break down sort of the history of the previous couple of games. And then we'll talk about last night and dig a little bit deeper into the changes that we made and how it influenced the game.
So, looking at the lineup, obviously, there's a lot of discussion about the shape that we played, about the players who came in. But I want to take it a step back. I want to go back to the last 5 games we played before the actual tournament started. And if you look at that, just focusing on our backline, we know Ronan's been a mainstay as a goalkeeper. But if we look at our backline, we'll see that in the last 5 games, which are the 4 World Cup qualifiers, as well as the one game, the friendly against Zambia, we only conceded 2 goals. And in the 4 games that we played at AFCON, we conceded 6 goals. So a lot of people are asking, is it the defense's fault? Which we know a goal is conceded is the team's fault. It's not necessarily the defense's fault. But just looking at the back four, we want to see, has there been consistency in our lineup or have there been changes? And when you look at those games coming back from Lesotho, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, and then Zambia, you see that 3 players have been consistently playing majority of those games, which is left back Aubrey Modiba, left centre back Mbokazi, and right back Mudau. So the right centre back position, we've had Moloisani play, we've had Ngezana play, we've had Sibisi play, and we've also had Ndamani play, but he played as left centre back in the one game that Mbokazi didn't play. But it's just to highlight that in that side, the right side of our back four, the right centre back position, we've had multiple changes. And leading into this tournament, coming into the tournament, we've had a very consistent backline with Ngezana and Bokazi as our 2 center backs. And even when we changed to a back three, they still remained with the addition of Sibisi, who also happened to play a few more of the games in the build up to this tournament. So the questions will be asked as whether we weren't so stable in finding our best backline in terms of personnel, but I don't think it's the case. I just think that at this tournament, we faced a different level of competition. And I know the World Cup qualifiers were difficult, but we happened to play those last 4 games at home because Zimbabwe played at home in South Africa. Lesotho also played us at home in South Africa. So we had 4 games plus the friendly at home and never actually had any games outside of the country, which might be a contributing factor. But it doesn't take away from the fact that, we did have opportunities in the game against Cameroon. Everybody saw that. But how easy is it for a team to play a certain style, a certain way for years or for months leading up to a tournament and to change it in the game? We can always say that we could have scored the chances we had, and then nobody will be speaking about this. But it is something that we have to look at because it is a obvious tactical.
Thank you for that, Musi. I think everyone's seen the game and see how well South Africa did in the first half to create specifically those 3 chances that we could have won the game with at least, or at least changed the outcome of the game. Seeing Cameroon go with a 5-3-2, where we went with a 5-2-3, trying to match the team. But Kulam again will try and break that down for us a little bit and just give us more insight as to what that does both defensively and in attack, and give us a little bit more clarity. We've seen a lot of people making comments on the lineup today and the changes that they made. Again, we explained this tournament football and you need to win. There's a lot up for grabs at the end of the day, and the coach has prepared his team. As Musi discussed, there were a lot of changes, but that's his preparation. We can only talk about how it breaks down within the game from a tactical point of view.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I think if we look at how the 2 teams set up, I think the biggest mismatch was probably in the midfield, where it looks like you have a lot of cover, but you're playing a 3-man midfield versus a 2-man midfield of Bafana with Batusi and with Tebza. So there is this overload that keeps continuing. What we did manage to do, and I think it was a little bit clear in our build-up phases, we were able to control how we progressed to the middle third of the field. Excuse me. Um, but what kind of became evident is that the options to find free players became a little bit more complicated. Playing with the wingbacks, you kind of want them to play a little bit higher a lot of the times. And you want your wingers to kind of invert to create the central overloads and free up and allow and force the opposition wingbacks to come back. I don't think we did enough of that, and uh, I think in a tactical sense, probably not the best ideas. We had Kabini and Sailor playing in those positions. Kabini, as you already highlight, coming in after a while with one of the changes. And is he really a wingback to give you that fluidity to go forward and create problems? He got into the box twice. So can we say no? Can we say yes? It's a little bit. It's neither here nor there, in my opinion. In terms of the build-ups from Mozambique, oh, listen to me, Mozambique. Sorry. In terms of the build-ups from Cameroon, um, we find a lot of the times uh, um, Lyle Foster a little bit isolated in the pressing moments. But what we did a little bit better in this game, Relay and Apollos kind of came a little bit narrower, so it allowed Kabini and Sailor to engage in the wing backs. So close the middle, and we had a little bit of um, a clear idea on how we wanted to press, where we wanted to force them. So we had an overload when they came inside to create a 4v3 in terms of winning those balls and trying to play forward, but maybe not something that we could have managed and controlled and controlled, managed throughout the 90 minutes of the game. And that became evident. The midfield mismatch of the 3v2, probably the biggest Achilles heel for the team as you progress through the 90. I don't think it's really easy to play against a team with that sort of physical endurance, speed endurance, technical abilities for 90 minutes and be numerically inferior in the midfield.
Mm. I think, Shailene, also with your experience and being a head coach with a couple of teams, what is your thoughts around the change? Because we know Cameroon is a very strong team, but South Africa was also a very strong team, especially after the unbeaten run that they had over these sort of 2 years. Would you go into a game and make those changes, or do you trust your team to stay and just play on what you believe in? Because they had a strong team, and Gulam's given insight, Musi's given insight as well to the lineup. So, from your point of view as a head coach, how would you approach that game, or do you think it's just go with what I know?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to understand what the coach was thinking. But for me, I always say, and I was having a discussion actually about this with someone, saying that you're sending out your what you think is your best team onto the field that can do the job for you. And I think, like you said, everybody has said already, if we score that three chances, even two chances that we get, if we talk in a different ball game. But we didn't, and that for me is where the players need to take introspection, look at themselves and say, listen, what could I have done better? Because yes, we can say the coach should have done this or could have done that, but as a coach, you put a team out on the field that you think can do the job for you. And I really think that we could have done that job in that first half because we had the players on the field. I thought Mafokeng was excellent. Foster supported the play. Apollos was good in the execution. But I think is that final third, and I said that in the beginning of when we started the show, that you need to be effective, you need to be clinical in that final third, because when it comes to the knockout stages, is that one moment of brilliance or that one moment of efficiency that's probably going to get you to the next round. And I think I didn't see that again, and that is why I said, like, if we played against this team like we did against the other teams, because if you look at the Egypt game now, how many chances did we create and how many did we actually score? None. So I'm saying that if we look at, the same thing, we're talking about 18 shots maybe or 16 shots and only four was on target. So then you're going to go back and look at the statistics, but you're looking at the player personnel that was on the field. Did they do the job that you asked them to do?
Yeah, no, 100%. I thought from my point of view, I thought we did really well in terms of the tactical approach. Not like Gulam said, not allowing them to play as fluently as they would like to play, So they couldn't play through the middle, which means they couldn't really go wide either because our wingbacks were ready to go out. Our midfielders and our front three was controlling them, I think, for a lot of the game. And then it was long balls, and we picked up first ball, often second ball, but it was a lot for Tebogo and for Obas to carry in midfield. It was a lot of running, a lot of duels, and again leading to possible yellow cards. So again, on Gulam's point, it can possibly be a mismatch, but there were positives also when we were going forward. I mean, there's transition chances that we had. I think Apollos and Rele in those positions, almost half space or between fullback and wingback, centre back and wingback, or the centre back three. I think he got in. His chance came from that situation as well. It was perfectly timed. So those were the positives to take out of it. But yeah, again, unfortunately, we didn't score. But tactically, I think our approach was good in the first half. I think it was almost near perfect. Again, minus maybe scoring 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah.
Just to move forward onto that, we do want to try and break down the goals. Carl will lead us in that to just discuss the 3 goals that were scored, from the corner being the first one. And we will give you some of our insight into what we thought. Again, nothing is right and nothing is wrong. We're just trying to give you an idea from a football perspective and what we've learned, where it could have gone better and where we could have made 1 or 2 better decisions in those situations.
Okay, so for me, it's I think we started the game really well, and we all know that we created a lot of chances, or good chances at the start of the game. I felt that we dominated the ball quite nicely at the beginning of the game. But just to touch a bit on what Gulam was saying with the 3 in midfield versus the 2, us having the 2 midfielders and the 2 tens allowed us to have the 4 in the midfield in the central zone of the field. And that showed when we were in possession, we were able to play through the lines. I mean, Laud's goal that was disallowed comes from building up and playing through the lines, through the midfield into the tens, and in the 10 making the pass behind for Laud to run onto and score, but obviously offside. So it helped us a lot in possession, but out of possession is where we struggled in terms of controlling that midfield, because we only had the line of 4 or the 2 midfielders centrally marking 3. So it becomes a bit difficult, and you outnumbered. So that was a challenge definitely for us out of possession. But in possession, we all know we created a lot of chances, chances that we should have scored. And also, you play in a team like Cameroon, you don't take your chances, they're gonna come back, and once they settle, they're gonna take their small chances. And if we go into the first goal that we concede, it comes from a set piece, and again, out of nowhere, they didn't really create chances in open play. And when they got that one opportunity in a set play, the cross comes in, we clear the ball, but we all rush out to press the ball, leaving the free Cameroon players inside the box. But we're also not pressing out as a unit, so we have some players that are left behind, and the shot comes in and it's blocked, falls to a free Cameroon player, and the goal is scored, and that's 1-0 down for us. And that's the difference. That is what you need in a knockout game, is taking that one opportunity and scoring that opportunity. And then also with the second goal that we conceded also comes from a set piece and the second phase of it. So the first phase, the cross comes in, we managed to clear the ball, but then we need to do better, because we actually win the ball in the second phase. We don't clear our lines quite well. The clearance is not good enough. Goes straight to Cameroon, and then they're able to get the ball wide and cross. And we actually spoke about this in the last episode, where we spoke about the marking in the box. And now you're playing against Cameroon, and it's just that one little space that you leave, you give them that space. I think it was Sabisi that doesn't go tight onto the striker. And then the cross comes in and it's a header, it's a goal. And now you 2-0 down. And as much as we can say we dominated the game and we played really well and we did all those things, I said this in the last episode, that the result is what matters and you need to win the game. And we found ourselves sitting 2-0 down, and we were, in my opinion, we were the better team for a long time in that game. But the result matters, and then also now you go, the goal that we scored, a brilliant pass in behind. I think it was Modiba that put the cross in, and Mogopa again inside the box, looking at the spaces, finding the right timing to get to the ball. And yes, what people think it's a tap in, but the timing of that movement and the positioning that he takes, and the way he goes into the near post to meet that cross, it's also something that must be commended. It's an instinct. It's something that you can't really coach, and it's something that players have in them, and they're just able to feed off that moment. And again, a brilliant crossing from Modiba, and we have to give credit where it's due. I liked the goal. I thought it was a good goal. But I think we still should have scored a bit more. I think we had chances to score, and if you don't take a chance against a team like Cameroon, you will be punished. So yeah, that's from the goal point of view.
If we can jump back, because I think we had a good discussion before we started the call just around the goal and about the tactical behaviors, or the behaviors inside the box. Because again, it's something we covered when we spoke in our previous call. We spoke about what are the behaviors in the box in the different zones. And I don't know, Musi, if you want to jump in and just give us a little bit of what your thoughts were around the corner. Again, we talk about where you clear the ball. It's not always easy. It's not something you can always control. Because
Yeah.
if you're one step late, you're not able to get the ball away from the central channel. And that then raises a lot of, I don't want to say red flags, but raises a lot of concern once the ball is moved into the central channel. Then it's anyone. You can rocket launch from the middle and get it into the top corner and finish. But yeah,
Yeah,
goes through it.
Yeah, I think, we've spoken quite a bit about, especially in these competitions, about, North African and West African teams relying on aerial balls and their aerial dominance. And, for the corner kick, again, it's just a momentary lapse, focus where a lot of players push up and you have one or two who don't. And as things would work out for them, it would hit a player, deflect off a South African player, deflect off a Cameroonian player, and fall in the path of another Cameroonian player. And I mean, the difference, the VAR lines, if you saw them showing how close it was, but those are literally the differences, the yards, the little inches that make a difference in a tournament like this. And we spoke about it in the Zimbabwe game that, we were fortunate to get away with some situations in that game, whether the ball or the headers or the shot was wide or some of the chances Ronman saved, you know. And again, it just goes back to in the 5 games leading up to the AFCON, we only conceded 2 goals. And in the AFCON itself, we conceded 6 goals in 4 games. So you want to just, try and diagnose. It's late now because you're out of the tournament, but you wanted in the tournament to diagnose what are the areas that are causing you to concede. And if you just take it back to when our time in Egypt, Cameroon did exactly what we would do with Al Ahly. Sometimes we don't have the ball or we don't find the passing lines or the sort of build up that we like. And then we just go to the set piece, whether it's a free kick or a corner kick. And then that opens up the game for us. Because even after Cameroon were able to score the first goal, they did start actually playing better. And after the second goal, they actually had a big chance to make it 3-0, which Ronwen saved as well. And whether that was through opportunistic chances, that is what knockout football is about. So I think immediately once the ball goes out of the box, we need to rush, press the man so that there's no cross or no shot back into the area. He can rather pass backwards or we can block it. And then also we need to be moving in a synchronized fashion that, guys, we're all pushing up at the same time.
Yeah, again, going back to the organization, and Gula, maybe you can jump in on this one, but we dealing with it. I know I referenced again what we're doing this side in Saudi with the team, but we conceded 4 goals in 3 games from set plays, and it was 2 was free kicks and 2 was corners, but it was literally from the second phase. So it's again that secondary behaviors we spoke about it last week. What are the secondary behaviors? So everyone has a man. I can't talk too much about what we do here, but everyone has a man. What is their responsibility in the second? Because they had 2 zonal players at the front post, but what is the secondary role of everyone if everyone's marking? We also had 2 players that were, I don't want to say at the halfway line because you couldn't see the full picture clearly, but you could see the late recovery runs from the 2 players coming towards the box once the ball was cleared. So there was 2 players that we risked to say, okay, 2 go outside and we'll only defend with 8. But there was man markers there. What are their responsibility once the ball goes out, and whose play is at the edge of the box? Because if those things are not organized early, then who takes the blame at the end of the day? Is it the coach? Is it the analyst, assistant coach, goalkeeper coach, set play coach? Who takes responsibility? Because these are the things that we analyze. These are the things that our opponents are going to analyze, and come World Cup, we may be dealing with the same situations as well. Don't know, Gulam, if you want to jump in there from preparation point, and just again, you can speak on organization as well.
Yeah, no problem. Now I'm happy you touched on that, the outlets that Bafana probably had, and I think when we played Al Ahly a few years ago, Musa, I think you guys were still there, and the first game we played you, we left 3 outlets, and it created a little bit of chaos for you guys in that first corner kick, if you remember, and we
Yeah.
actually got that transition to play out. So I think it's a gambling moment in terms of leaving your outlets. and how far you're willing to gamble. So if you look at the picture, you see Baleba drifting towards the box, and you see Rele pop up a little bit later. So it's the instruction is internal, whether it's gamble or come back, and maybe not a little, not a lot of certainty in that, like you pointed out. But there's two important factors for me. One is the initial phases, the initial actions before the corner kick. There's the mistake of Ngezana where he almost loses possession, makes the back pass, Ronza clears it. We don't win that first ball, and then there's the free kick from the possible red card from Ngezana on the elbow. And then the lateral free kick, again, if you look at the line, there's a side-on view, and the line is actually diagonally going across where the last man, I think it's Kabini in the picture, he's probably not in sync with the rest of the line, win the corner. And the thing that maybe is to point out in terms of the actual corner kick is you have four Sundowns players that are there, and if you watch Sundowns set plays, they have an automation where delivery is taken, the first clearance, everybody really steps out with a lot of speed to press the ball. So they're missing that point where, like you pointed out, the three players have stayed behind. I know Lyle Foster is the last, but I think we spoke about CBC and Ngezana, who are also a little bit behind. And even Chamedo, he's marked by Batusi in the first phase. Sailor is on the post, if I'm not mistaken, or he's the last man on the post, and he's also past Lyle and everyone to get out. So you almost have to, with the national team, try and figure out what is the right approach in that and create a lot of clarity, because you have a lot of people coming together to play for a single team. And you have to have a clear idea of what you want to do, how you want to do it. And you almost have to remove whatever you don't want from the teams where they play and make it a clear instruction. This is how we are going to do it. And maybe with the Sundowns players, not to pick on them, but maybe in the stress moment, they went back to default and just flew out without really looking at what's around them. And that, like Musi pointed out, deflection leads to the free man. Chamedo's probably not even expecting it, but can't take away the quality of the finish. We've had good moments before that, even in the game, and we didn't finish.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think that's spot on. There's so much detail in that, and the little detail of where you header, who you pick up, who you track after the ball is played. And I think the biggest thing you spoke about, Gulam, was the fact that you bring in players from multiple clubs to do one job, but they're already carrying this message from the club that they do week in, week out with their own teams. And I think that's so important. Just in closing, Shalene, I know this loss was very emotional for you. Is there you worked with Bafana and Banyana as an analyst, and you've got a lot of insight into the team. Obviously, the technical staff has changed, but is there any closing remarks from you? Again, like you guys said earlier, if we took our chances, this conversation is very different. We're excited, we're happy, the formation was great, the structure was great, organization was great. We defended set plays well, but we don't want to always focus on those moments. We want to focus on the detail of what's happening. So, yeah, and Shalene, in closing, can just give us your remark.
Yeah, I think this is more about the tactical show. So we speak a lot about the tactics, but I think from the beginning, for me, I didn't see the heart that I saw in 2023 from this team. And you could hear from, like when Ronza spoke or when the coach spoke, they all said that there was a problem in the team, but no one could really put their finger on it. And it didn't come from the tactical side, it didn't come from the technical side, it came from the emotional or the psychological side. And no one could pinpoint where that was coming from. So I think they need to, before they go to the World Cup, sort out what is going on in the team and what is the challenges that they need to, to get past that, because you can't go to a World Cup and still have the same issues. The tactical stuff that you can sort out, because those are on the field stuff that you can work on. But I think the psychological part is the things that we need to see how we can break that down and see where the problem lies and try to sort it out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100% right. I think we must, especially as the public, not be negative about how well Bafana has done over the last years under the new coach. They've changed their style of play. He's changed a lot of combinations. He's brought a good team together, and they all look happier, I think. From a playing point of view, they're confident, they're positive. We thought they could take on the African giants as well. So we've almost been sold the belief that they are doing well, and we're happy to see them play. But now, obviously, we knocked out the tournament, and now we still have our work to do. as Football Insights to look at the rest of the goals and look at the rest of the teams to try and understand their tactical approaches. Just in closing, Carl, anything you've seen or expecting from the last couple of games?
For me, it's now I want to see who's gonna actually play on the how do I say this, on their reputation and the quality that they can bring to the tournament. We just finished watching the Egypt game, and obviously they've come back from being in 1-1 and scoring the goal to win the game 2-1 in extra time. So personally, I'd like to see Egypt go quite far. But for me, I kind of like the thing of Morocco playing at home and also a really good team. So I'll start watching them a lot more and a lot more invested in that. And obviously, we had a bit of an upset with the Mali and Tunisia game where Mali beat Tunisia on penalties, a 10-man Mali, we can say that. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the games and just to see the different approaches that the teams will have. We saw Benin, like I just mentioned, Egypt, Benin actually coming to the game and trying to win it. Different mentality, different approach to the game in terms of wanting to win. And then for me, that's something that I want to look forward to. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for everyone for, again, listening to our show. Please like, please share, please follow Kickoff, and make sure that you're always available to share comments, because we like to give feedback. We want to engage with the audience as well. As Musi said, this was just a bonus show based on the Bafana game. We were quite excited to speak about it if they had won even more, but with the loss, we wanted to break it down and give you what our thoughts were. We do have the next show coming at the end of the tournament, which will be on the 18th. So we most likely will present on the 19th and share that show with you. Again, we do want to hear from you. Follow us on Instagram as well and share whatever thoughts you have.